In the invisible realm where ideas take their first breath, there are laws as sure and radiant as the sunrise, laws that govern success, harmony, and the unfolding of one's divine path. When we speak of business, we do not speak merely of commerce or occupation. We speak of the work the soul came to do, the service it is destined to give. And there are certain enterprises, divine in origin, indestructible in essence, that never fail, for they are supported by the great unseen power that orchestrates all life with perfect precision. Every individual is born with a sacred blueprint, talents, desires, and callings placed within them like seeds from the infinite. When one aligns with this blueprint, all doors swing open, all provision flows, and all resistance dissolves. Failure comes only when the inner guidance is ignored, when fear takes the place of faith, or when one strives by force rather than by spiritual law. But a business planted in divine soil, one rooted in purpose, love, and right action, cannot wither. It prospers because it expresses the eternal qualities of spirit, creativity, service, truth, and goodwill. There are 4 such holy enterprises, 4 ways of working in the world that carry the unmistakable signature of the divine. Each reflects a universal principle that humanity will always need, always seek, and always reward. These businesses thrive not by competition or striving, but by spiritual alignment. They flourish because they uplift, they heal, they illuminate, and they harmonize. And whenever a person steps into one of these callings, even if only in spirit, even if only in the smallest daily act, an invisible army of support rushes to assist them. For the universe always backs the one who chooses to serve in love. In truth, no one needs to build these businesses. They already exist as living currents of spiritual energy. One has only to tune in, to listen for the quiet inner instruction that whispers, "This is yours." When one follows that whisper, life becomes a symphony of right opportunities, inspired ideas, and perfect timing. Obstacles melt away, for nothing can block what is ordained. As long as the work is done with a clear heart and a steady faith, success is inevitable. The world may measure profit in coins, but spirit measures it in uplifted lives, opened hearts, and transformed circumstances. And those who engage in divine business, who align their work with the higher laws, find that material prosperity arrives as naturally as breathing. They do not chase, they attract. They do not fear, they affirm. They do not strain, they surrender to guidance and act with certainty. So as we step into exploring these 4 sacred businesses, let us do so with an open mind and a receptive spirit. For within them lies not only prosperity, but purpose, not only success, but joy, not only work, but the unfolding of the soul's true mission. Alignment with divine purpose guarantees unfailing success because it places an individual in the current of a power far greater than personal ambition, intellect, or effort. When a person moves in harmony with the purpose that Spirit has planted within them, they are no longer pushing against life, guessing at their path, or attempting to construct success through willpower alone. Instead, they enter a state of cooperation with the unseen forces that guide all things toward their highest expression. Divine purpose is not something manufactured by the mind. It is something revealed, something already woven into the design of one's being, waiting to be recognized. When this recognition occurs, life ceases to feel like a struggle and begins to unfold with an almost uncanny precision. Doors open at the right moment, opportunities appear as if summoned, and the necessary people, ideas, and resources present themselves with effortless grace. Many people wander from task to task, business to business, or dream to dream, wondering why nothing sticks, why the ground beneath their feet seems unstable, or why success always feels just a step out of reach. It is often because they are working from personal will rather than divine intention. Personal will tries to force outcomes, to make something happen through strain, anxiety, and ceaseless activity. Divine purpose, however, works through inspiration, intuitive nudges, clarity, and a sense of rightness that cannot be mistaken. When one is aligned with divine purpose, the work they do becomes charged with spiritual energy. This energy magnetizes success because it resonates with the deeper needs of humanity and the higher laws of the universe. Where fear once dictated decisions, faith begins to lead the way. Where confusion once clouded the path, illumination steps forward. To align with divine purpose requires a willingness to quiet the ego, to release the belief that one must suffer, strain, or struggle in order to succeed. It calls for a consciousness that listens inwardly, that trusts the subtle impressions, desires, and inclinations that arise from the soul. Divine purpose often reveals itself through what one naturally loves, what one feels drawn to, or what one can do with joy even when no one is watching. These clues are not accidental, they are spiritual signposts. They point toward the unique form of service a person is meant to bring into the world. And where there is service that uplifts, strengthens, or heals, there is always support from the universe. Success that is anchored in divine purpose cannot fail because it does not depend on external circumstances. Markets may shift, opinions may change, resources may ebb and flow, yet the individual rooted in purpose remains steady. Their work is nourished by a higher source. Just as a tree planted beside a river flourishes regardless of the weather, so does the person whose business and actions are grounded in their spiritual calling. They do not fear competition because there is no competition in purpose. No one can replicate what the soul alone designs. They do not fear lack because divine purpose carries its own provision. Every idea that comes from spirit arrives with the supply necessary to fulfill it. They do not fear failure because true purpose cannot collapse. It is sustained by the very laws that keep the stars in their courses. When aligned with divine purpose, success is not a pursuit, but a consequence. It arises naturally, like fruit from a well-watered vine. One no longer feels the urge to grasp or cling, for they know that what is theirs cannot be taken, and what is not theirs cannot satisfy. This inner security creates a magnetic field that draws prosperity, opportunities, and harmonious relationships. People feel the authenticity of purpose. They respond to its sincerity, its integrity, its quiet power. Purpose blesses not only the one who holds it, but all who encounter it. To maintain alignment with divine purpose, one must practice spiritual receptivity. This means recognizing that the most important work is often done in consciousness before any outward action is taken. A person may spend hours in activity and accomplish nothing, yet a single moment of spiritual clarity can shift the entire course of their life. By cultivating faith, by speaking words of affirmation rather than doubt, by trusting guidance rather than resisting it, one keeps themselves connected to the divine blueprint. This connection ensures that every step becomes part of a larger unfolding, even when the full picture is not yet visible. There are times when divine purpose guides a person into unfamiliar territory, prompting them to release old patterns, outdated ambitions, or paths that no longer resonate. These moments require courage, yet they are essential. What seems like loss is often preparation. What feels like uncertainty is often the clearing of space for something greater. When one trusts the inner direction and continues forward with a steady heart, what emerges is always more perfect, more aligned, and more abundant than anything the limited mind could have planned. Alignment with divine purpose also means recognizing the difference between inspired desire and restless longing. Inspired desire is calm, radiant, and steady. It grows quietly like a seed knowing it will bloom. Restless longing is anxious, urgent, and fueled by fear of missing out. Inspired desire is the voice of purpose calling one toward expansion. It carries a sense of rightness, a sense of "this is mine." When a person listens to this voice, every step carries spiritual authority. Their work becomes a channel through which divine ideas flow into form, and these ideas are always met with support because they are needed in the world. When aligned with divine purpose, one becomes an instrument of good. Their actions uplift, their words encourage, their presence harmonizes. This harmony resonates outward, attracting success because success is the natural response of the universe to harmony. Just as a tuning fork vibrates when struck by its matching note, life responds when a person vibrates in tune with their purpose. They meet the right people, attract the right circumstances, and feel guided at every turn. Thus, alignment with divine purpose guarantees unfailing success because it anchors a person in the eternal rather than the temporary, in the spiritual rather than the superficial, in truth rather than illusion, and in divine order rather than random chance. True prosperity flows from service rooted in love because love is the highest frequency of the universe, the very current through which all blessings, opportunities, and supply naturally move. When a person's work, actions, or business springs from genuine love, love for their craft, love for the people they serve, love for the unfoldment of something greater, they tap into an inexhaustible power that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Prosperity that arises from this spiritual foundation is stable, replenishing, and continually expanding because it is aligned with the divine principle that whatever is given in love must return multiplied. Money itself is but a symbol of energy, and energy responds to intention. When love is the intention, the return is always abundant. Many people seek prosperity through force, competition, or fear of not having enough, fear of falling behind, or fear of scarcity. Yet these vibrations cannot attract true abundance, for they do not match the frequency of the supply they chase. Fear contracts, love expands. Fear blocks, love opens. Fear clings, love circulates. When one offers service from a heart that is anxious, resentful, or calculating, the results reflect this constriction, limited opportunities, inconsistent income, burnout, or a sense of constant striving. But when one offers service with sincere goodwill, generosity of spirit, and a true desire to uplift, the universe recognizes that vibration and responds with support, timing, and provision that seem almost miraculous. Love-infused service carries a magnetic quality that cannot be imitated by strategies or tactics. People can sense when someone cares, when someone shows up with integrity, when someone gives not only skill but heart. This creates trust, loyalty, and connection, all of which are the invisible foundations of enduring prosperity. When a business or endeavor operates from love, it is not merely offering a product or service, it is offering comfort, clarity, hope, relief, joy, or transformation. And these gifts are priceless. They draw people in because every soul longs for genuine care and authentic connection. Therefore, the one who serves in love never needs to chase prosperity. Prosperity comes seeking them. Serving in love does not mean self-sacrifice or martyrdom. It means alignment, It means recognizing that one's gifts, talents, and abilities are not accidents, but intentional threads of the divine design. Love expresses itself when those abilities are used to benefit others. A person who loves what they do radiates enthusiasm, creativity, and joy, and this radiance attracts. It inspires confidence. It elevates the environment. Even simple tasks become channels through which divine energy flows. The mechanic who works with care, the teacher who encourages with kindness, the healer who listens without judgment, the entrepreneur who creates with integrity, all experience a prosperity that is sustained because it is built on spiritual law rather than human effort alone. When service is rooted in love, there is no fear of giving too much or receiving too little because one understands the law of circulation. Whatever is sent out in love must return in greater measure, often from unexpected places. A kind word, an honest gesture, an extra moment of attention, a willingness to help, these small seeds often grow into large harvests. The person who gives in love does not keep score, for they know the universe does the accounting. They may not see the return immediately, but it always comes, and when it does, it arrives multiplied. Love is an investment that cannot lose value. True prosperity means more than financial gain. It includes peace of mind, satisfying relationships, meaningful work, creative fulfillment, emotional well-being, and spiritual alignment. These blessings flow naturally to the one whose service arises from love, because love harmonizes every part of life. A person cannot radiate love in their work and experience chaos in their results. The vibration of the giver influences the condition of the gift. Therefore, giving with love blesses both the giver and the receiver, strengthening the flow of abundance between them. When love is the foundation of service, obstacles become smaller because love dissolves resistance. It creates clarity in decision-making, grace in timing, and inspiration in action. Ideas seem to appear at the right moment because love opens the intuitive channels. Partnerships become smoother because love attracts cooperation rather than conflict. Even challenges transform into stepping stones because love reveals the lesson and the hidden opportunity within them. Prosperity that grows from this foundation is steady because it is not based on external conditions, trends, or the volatility of the world. It is based on spiritual substance, something eternal, unshakable, and self-renewing. To serve in love requires presence. It asks one to show up fully, to listen deeply, to care sincerely. It asks for authenticity over performance, intention over appearance, generosity over calculation. This does not mean giving beyond one's capacity or boundaries. Rather, it means offering what one gives with purity, clarity, and wholeheartedness. Love does not exhaust, it energizes. When one serves from love, they often find themselves more inspired, more creative, and more resilient, because the energy that flows through them is divine, not merely personal. The universe is structured in such a way that love is the most prosperous energy available. Every spiritual tradition, every mystic, every awakened teacher has pointed to this truth in some form. Love is law, and whatever aligns with love aligns with abundance. When one chooses love as the foundation of their work, they align themselves with a current that never runs dry. Their prosperity is not dependent on luck, timing, or circumstance, but on their willingness to remain connected to the highest part of themselves. True prosperity flows from service rooted in love because love activates divine supply, invites spiritual support, aligns one with their highest purpose, magnetizes the right people and opportunities, and turns ordinary work into sacred expression. Fear blocks, But faith opens every door because fear is a constricting force that narrows the mind, tightens the heart, and clouds the vision, while faith is an expansive power that illuminates possibilities, strengthens intuition, and aligns a person with divine order. Fear builds invisible walls around opportunity, whispering that success is uncertain, love is risky, change is dangerous, and abundance is limited. Faith, however, dissolves these walls by affirming that the universe is friendly, that guidance is constant, and that one is always supported by an unseen intelligence that moves through all things. When a person operates from fear, even the smallest action feels heavy, complicated, or doubtful because they are fighting against the natural flow of life. When they act in faith, their steps become guided, inspired, and filled with a sense of rightness, because faith opens channels through which divine ideas and perfect timing can reach them. Fear is a storyteller, and its stories always point toward limitation. It says you are not ready, you are not worthy, things will go wrong, or you are alone. These narratives drain energy and break the alignment between a person and their divine blueprint. Fear focuses attention on imagined problems rather than real possibilities. It fixes the mind on worst-case scenarios that almost never occur, yet the emotional cost is tremendous. Many dreams are abandoned not because they were impossible, but because fear convinced someone to stop before they started. In this way, fear becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, closing doors that might have opened if only the individual had believed they could walk through them. Faith, on the other hand, tells a different story. It says, you are guided, you are supported, you are capable, and what you seek is seeking you. Faith invites a person to act from trust rather than tension. Trust is not passive. It is a dynamic state of alignment in which one listens, responds, and moves with clarity instead of hesitation. Faith allows a person to step onto a path even when the full road is not visible, knowing that the next step will appear at the right moment. This inner assurance is what opens doors, because doors open to those who expect them to open. Fear blocks intuition because it creates noise in the inner space where guidance is heard. Intuition speaks softly, in impressions, nudges, subtle knowing. Fear shouts. It floods the mind with frantic thoughts and worst-case imaginings, making it difficult to sense the gentle clarity that arises from spirit. When a person tries to make decisions from a fearful state, they often choose the path that is safest rather than the one that is right. They cling to familiarity rather than stepping into growth. But faith quiets the noise. It calms the inner storm so that the small, steady voice of intuition can be heard again. This voice always points toward the highest path, the most harmonious solution, the divine timing that fear cannot perceive. Fear also blocks creativity. Creativity requires openness, imagination, and willingness to explore the unknown. But fear loves the known, the predictable, the controlled. It shuts down inspiration because inspiration requires trust. Many times the greatest ideas, solutions, and breakthroughs come not from struggle but from surrender. Surrender to the flow of higher intelligence. This surrender is an act of faith. When one trusts that the next idea will come, the next opportunity will appear, or the next resource will be provided, the creative channels remain open. Faith invites inspiration by saying, I am ready to receive. Fear pushes inspiration away by saying, what if nothing comes? The difference between the two states determines whether a person remains stuck or moves forward with ease and clarity. Fear blocks opportunities by causing hesitation. The door may open, but fear refuses to walk through it. A chance meeting may occur, but fear prevents one from speaking. An inspired idea arises, but fear convinces the mind to ignore it. Opportunities often come disguised as uncertainty or change, and fear avoids both. Faith, however, recognizes opportunity even when it appears unfamiliar or unexpected. It sees beyond the surface. It whispers, "This is the moment. Say yes. Move now." When a person responds to these impulses with trust, they discover that faith is the key that unlocks doors they didn't even know existed. Fear also contracts energy, and contracted energy cannot attract abundance. The universe responds to vibration, and fear is a vibration of holding back, of bracing against loss, of expecting difficulty. This expectation becomes a magnet for more of the same. Faith radiates a different vibration, one of openness, confidence, gratitude, and expectancy of good. This vibration draws abundance because abundance flows where it feels welcomed. Faith tells the universe, "I am ready," and the universe responds in kind. Fear says, "I am not enough," and the universe mirrors that belief. Faith says, "Everything I need is already on its way, and what is needed begins to move toward the person with perfect precision." Fear blocks relationships and connections that might lead to growth, support, or prosperity. It tells a person to guard their heart, avoid vulnerability, and stay small. But relationships grow through trust, openness, and authenticity. Faith invites connection by allowing one to show up as their true self without hiding or apologizing. This authenticity attracts people who resonate with their purpose, who support their dreams, who collaborate with their vision. Fear builds walls, faith builds bridges. Fear also blocks healing, emotional, spiritual, or even physical. Healing requires receptivity, and fear resists. It clings to old wounds, old identities, old patterns. Faith, however, allows release. It invites transformation. It believes in renewal and restoration. When a person believes that change is possible, that progress is happening, that improvement is inevitable, their entire energy shifts. This shift opens inner doors that lead to new levels of well-being, inner peace, and strength. Faith opens every door because it aligns a person with divine order. Divine order is the principle that everything needed arrives at the right time, in the right way, through the right channels. Fear disrupts this order by trying to control, force, or manipulate outcomes. Faith relaxes into it. This does not mean passivity. It means inspired action rather than frantic action. It means moving when guided, pausing when necessary, and trusting that the path is unfolding even when it appears still. Faith turns life into a cooperative dance with the divine rather than a battle against circumstances. Ultimately, fear is a contraction away from truth, and faith is a return to truth. Truth always opens, expands, guides, and elevates. Fear blocks because it is built on illusion. Faith opens because it is built on spiritual law. Spirit-led work attracts perfect opportunities because it flows from a place of alignment, clarity, and inner truth, creating a magnetic field that draws the right circumstances with an ease that human effort alone can never produce. When a person allows themselves to be guided by the quiet intelligence of spirit, rather than by fear, urgency, or social pressure, their work becomes attuned to a higher rhythm. This rhythm governs timing, connection, and direction with far more wisdom than the mind can conceive. Spirit-led work is not rushed, forced, or confused. It carries a calm certainty that anchors a person even when the way ahead is still unfolding. And wherever there is certainty of purpose, the universe arranges itself to meet it. The person who works under spiritual guidance does not chase after prospects or scramble to create opportunities. Instead, opportunities rise to meet them because they are working from their true center. This center emits a clear signal, a vibrational tone, that aligns them only with what is meant for them. When someone moves from ego or fear, their energy becomes scattered, and scattered energy brings scattered results. When they work from spirit, their energy is unified, focused, and harmonious, and this unity draws circumstances that match the higher order they are embodying. A path guided by spirit always contains open doors, supportive people, and timely resources, because spirit never leads someone into a purpose without also preparing the way for its fulfillment. Spirit-led work attracts perfect opportunities because spirit sees what the individual cannot. It sees the broader landscape, the timing of events, the unseen connections, the hidden possibilities. It orchestrates what the logical mind could never piece together. Often people try to strategize their way into success, believing that if they simply think hard enough or plan thoroughly enough, they can control the outcome. But true success does not emerge from control, it emerges from cooperation with divine intelligence. Spirit might guide someone toward a conversation that seems insignificant, only for that single interaction to open a door months later. It might inspire an idea that seems small, only for that idea to grow into something pivotal. It might close one path abruptly, not as punishment but as protection, so the person can be redirected to something more aligned. Spirit-led work is also inherently authentic, and authenticity is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to sincerity, clarity, and genuine intention. When someone is guided by spirit, their work carries a purity that can be felt even without words. Their creations, actions, and offerings resonate with an inner truth that attracts those who are meant to receive them. This resonance creates effortless connection. Rather than forcing relationships, the spirit-led individual attracts those who match their purpose, whether clients, collaborators, mentors, or supporters. The alignment is organic because spirit arranges meetings, conversations, and intersections that are mutually beneficial and spiritually ordered. One of the great gifts of spirit-led work is that it neutralizes the desperation that often pushes opportunities away. Desperation repels, confidence attracts. When someone works with the knowledge that spirit is guiding them, they no longer cling to outcomes or fear loss. They trust that what belongs to them will find them and what is not theirs cannot stay. This trust produces a calm, receptive energy, and receptive energy is a magnet for good. Many opportunities slip away from people not because they are unworthy, but because their inner state is tense, anxious, hurried, or doubtful. Spirit-led work dissolves these states by grounding the individual in faith and presence. From this grounded place, opportunities can approach because the person is finally open to receiving. Spirit-led work also attracts perfect opportunities because it is rooted in service rather than self-centered striving. Spirit asks, "How can your gift serve the world?" Ego asks, "How can the world serve me?" When a person centers their work around service, they align themselves with a universal law. What is given in sincerity must return multiplied. Service creates a ripple effect. It reaches hearts, inspires minds, and plants seeds that manifest in ways the giver may never foresee. Because spirit-led service is aligned with the needs of humanity, it naturally attracts the circumstances that allow it to expand. Opportunities come not only to elevate the individual, but to extend the service further, touching more lives in greater ways. Another reason spirit-led work attracts perfect opportunities is that it dissolves resistance. When someone follows inner guidance, their actions feel natural, intuitive, and energizing. They do not struggle against themselves or their work. This lack of resistance allows universal flow to move through them without obstruction. In contrast, when a person works from fear or obligation, their energy becomes tangled. They may be busy, but their busyness lacks power because it is disconnected from their true path. Spirit-guided action, no matter how small, carries more potency than hours of forced effort. This potency sends a clear signal into the universe, inviting the exact opportunities that match it. Timing plays a sacred role in spirit-led work. Spirit orchestrates timing with perfect precision, aligning opportunities to appear when the individual is ready, not when they think they should be ready, but when their energy, mindset, and environment harmonize. Many people grow frustrated when opportunities seem delayed, but Spirit is not delaying, Spirit is preparing. A door that opens prematurely does not bless, it overwhelms. A door that opens at the right moment transforms everything. Spirit-led individuals learn to trust this timing, understanding that what is truly meant for them cannot be missed. This trust removes impatience and aligns them with the rhythm that ensures every opportunity arrives exactly when it will benefit them most. Another profound aspect of spirit-led work is that it sharpens intuition. Intuition is the instrument through which spirit communicates, nudging, guiding, redirecting, illuminating. When someone listens to these subtle signals, they avoid missteps that would waste time, energy, or resources. They bypass opportunities that look promising but lack spiritual integrity. They sense when to move and when to wait. This intuitive discernment is one of the greatest attractors of perfect opportunities because it keeps the person on the path where such opportunities exist. One moment of intuition, acting on a quiet impulse to call someone, change direction, or embrace a new idea, can alter the entire trajectory of a life. Spirit-led work is also anchored in peace rather than pressure. Peace is creative. Peace is steady. Peace provides clarity that pressure cannot. The person who operates from peace makes decisions from wisdom rather than fear. They attract opportunities that match their calm, grounded state. Pressure-based decisions often lead to entanglements, setbacks, or misalignments. Spirit-guided decisions lead to progress, clarity, and harmony. Because the inner state determines the outer experience, the peace that comes from spiritual alignment inevitably draws peaceful, aligned, and prosperous circumstances. Ultimately, spirit-led work attracts perfect opportunities because spirit is always working behind the scenes, arranging the details, aligning the people, preparing the stage, and guiding the heart. When the individual steps into this divine partnership, they become a conduit for possibility. Opportunities are not random, they are relational. They respond to the vibration one carries, and the vibration of spirit-led work is unmistakably powerful. Success is inevitable when actions follow inner guidance because inner guidance is the voice of divine intelligence speaking through intuition, inspiration, and quiet knowing. It is the compass of the soul, always pointing toward the path that leads to fulfillment, harmony, and the highest outcome. When a person listens to this inner voice and allows it to direct their steps, they are no longer navigating life through trial and error, fear reactions, or societal expectations. They are guided by wisdom that sees beyond the surface, beyond the moment, and beyond the limitations of the rational mind. This wisdom is infallible because it comes from the same source that orchestrates the movement of stars, seasons, and synchronicities. When actions align with this guidance, life unfolds with a seamless precision that makes success not only possible, but unavoidable. Inner guidance often arrives gently, through a feeling, a sudden clarity, a quiet nudge, or a deep sense of this is right. It does not argue, force, or frighten. Fear shouts, guidance whispers. Fear confuses, guidance clarifies. Fear pulls one in many directions, guidance points to one. Many people overlook inner guidance because it does not always align with logic or with the expectations of others. Yet the mind sees only fragments, while inner guidance perceives the whole. Acting from logic alone often leads to frustration or stagnation, while acting from inner guidance leads to flow, opportunity, and the unfolding of paths that could not have been planned intellectually. Success becomes inevitable under inner guidance because this guidance always leads toward what is aligned with one's purpose, and purpose carries its own provision. When someone moves in the direction their soul is pointing, the universe supplies what is needed: resources, connections, ideas, energy, courage. Guidance does not reveal the entire journey at once. It reveals only the next step, asking for trust rather than certainty. Each step taken in trust unlocks the next opening, and the next, until the person finds themselves in places more expansive and meaningful than anything they could have constructed through effort alone. Inner guidance never leads to failure. It may lead through challenge, learning, or necessary change, but it never leads to defeat. What the ego interprets as loss is often redirection. What appears as delay is often preparation. Inner guidance protects the individual from paths that seem appealing but lack true alignment. It averts unseen obstacles, redirects energy away from unfruitful pursuits, and leads toward opportunities that are fruitful, sustainable, and right. When one follows inner guidance, even obstacles become useful. They transform into lessons that refine character, strengthen clarity, and deepen trust, all of which ultimately contribute to success. Many people experience struggle not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they ignore their inner direction. They choose what is familiar instead of what is true. They listen to fear instead of intuition. They pursue goals that were never theirs to begin with. In doing so, they disconnect from the natural flow that inner guidance creates. But when a person begins to listen inwardly, to trust the impressions that arise from the deeper self, they find that life stops being a struggle and becomes a collaboration with the divine. Steps feel inspired, choices feel clear, and progress becomes more steady. Inner guidance is deeply practical, even when it feels mysterious. It influences the small decisions that lead to big outcomes: when to rest, when to act, when to reach out, when to let go, when to shift directions, when to speak, when to remain silent. These subtle choices shape the path of success more profoundly than grand gestures or bold strategies. Inner guidance is always pointing toward efficiency, harmony, and alignment. It cuts through confusion, showing the simplest and most effective path forward. When actions are guided from within, they carry a higher potency. A single guided action can accomplish more than weeks of unfocused effort. Success is inevitable because inner guidance aligns timing as well as direction. The world often tries to push people into rushing, competing, or forcing outcomes before their time. Inner guidance, however, moves according to divine timing, a timing that ensures every action is taken at the moment when it will yield the greatest effect. Acting too soon can sabotage opportunities. Acting too late can cause them to fade. Inner guidance ensures neither happens. It harmonizes the inner rhythm of the person with the outer rhythm of events, creating a perfect synchronicity that feels miraculous to the mind. What once seemed difficult becomes simple. What seemed far away arrives unexpectedly. What felt tangled becomes clear. Inner guidance also dissolves doubt. Doubt interferes with action, and delayed action interferes with opportunity. But when a person trusts their inner knowing, they move with confidence. This confidence itself attracts success. Confidence opens doors, encourages risk-taking, strengthens relationships, and elevates the energy one brings into their work. People respond to certainty. Opportunities are drawn to clarity. Inner guidance creates both. When a person acts from intuitive certainty, they broadcast a signal that says, "I know where I am going," and the world responds by supporting that direction. Following inner guidance also ensures that one's actions are aligned with their true strengths. The soul never guides a person to become something they are not. It leads them deeper into what they already are, revealing gifts, abilities, and talents that may have been overlooked. When a person works from their true strengths, success unfolds naturally. They accomplish more with less effort because they are operating within their natural design. Inner guidance highlights these strengths through the activities that bring joy, flow, and a sense of rightness. When actions follow these signals, work becomes both fulfilling and effective. Another reason success is inevitable is that inner guidance keeps a person connected to the present moment. The present moment is where all power resides. Worry lives in the future, regret lives in the past, guidance lives in the now. When someone acts from the present, they are responsive, aware, and grounded. They see opportunities they would have otherwise missed. They recognize the next step without overthinking. They move with precision rather than hesitation. This presence accelerates progress because it channels energy cleanly and fully into each action. Inner guidance also aligns a person with the right people. No success is achieved alone. Opportunities often flow through relationships, partnerships, and collaborations. Inner guidance nudges someone toward a conversation, inspires them to reach out, or draws them toward a particular environment. These nudges are not random. They are orchestrated connections designed to support the unfolding of purpose. When actions follow these nudges, the right people appear at the right time. People who resonate with the mission, support the vision, or open important doors. Inner guidance removes unnecessary struggle. It shows the shortcuts that are aligned, the steps that matter most, and the paths that lead somewhere meaningful. It prevents wasted time, energy, and resources by keeping the person focused on what truly matters. Because of this, success becomes a natural progression rather than a battle. The road may still contain effort, but the effort feels purposeful rather than draining. Above all, success becomes inevitable because inner guidance keeps a person aligned with their soul, and the soul is always moving toward expansion, expression, and fulfillment. When one follows this inner movement, they are carried by a force greater than personal effort. They become a participant in a divine unfolding that cannot fail because it is guided by the same intelligence that governs all creation.